Welcome to the very first episode of the Unpackers Trading Challenge, where my two favorite boomers, Bart and Eelco, will be competing against each other to prove who is the better trader, but more importantly, to prove to themselves and also to myself, aka in their opinion, the Gen Z Moonboy, if they are already consistently profitable. Guys, are you excited for the very first episode?
Oh man, we are.
Yeah, for sure.
Are you guys nervous? Because I believe when I was speaking to you guys about this a week ago, you guys were pretty nervous. How are the nerves now?
I can tell you, I was just thinking that in my days where I was going on a date with a beautiful girl, I was less nervous than I'm now for this challenge.
But you know what they say, and I can also say this from experience, Bart. The more often you go on a date, the less nervous you become. At some point, it almost becomes like a routine, and you know what to do on the first date. If I can give you some advice to start off with, don't be nervous, just be yourself. Don't be afraid to make mistakes because it's part of the game. I also have been thinking a lot about whether or not I wanted to punish the loser of this challenge, but since I really dearly respect you guys, that you guys are open for this challenge and that you guys are taking the risk, but also taking on this challenge to be as transparent as possible and to showcase both the good trades, but also the bad trades. I came to the conclusion that I don't want to punish the loser of this challenge, but I actually want to reward the winner of this challenge. As the boomers that you guys are, you both have a family and you both have kids. And I know that the kids of the both of you are major FC Barcelona fans. I decided that the winner of this challenge gets tickets to a game of Barcelona on my behalf. So I hope that is enough motivation to not be afraid for this so-called first date anymore, Bart.
It's an immense trophy to work towards too. And so I'm not doing this only for me anymore. It's not just the prize, but it is also the emotion that it would provoke in the boy if I would tell him. Although my wife said when I mentioned this prize, my wife's first reaction was, "Don't mention your son yet."
Yeah, it will probably put too much pressure on you. You will probably start over-risking again. So I would also keep that prize to yourself for now. To dive a little bit more into the details of this challenge, guys. So since we are now being sponsored by BitGet and TealStreet, Bart and Eelco both have opened an account on BitGet and they will be using TealStreet to execute their trades. Both of them have a starting balance of $250. Every week on Sunday, we will be doing a recording together and we will be reviewing the trade that they took the week beforehand. We will be seeing what the score of the account is at that point in time, but also every single Sunday, I will be providing both Bart and Eelco with a new asset that they can trade the week afterwards. They can only take one trade a week. One of the mistakes that both Bart and Eelco have been making in the past is that they are over trading a lot, is that they are over risking a lot, and that they are really struggling with remaining very disciplined and remaining very patient. Now, by giving them only one asset to trade for the week and also giving them only one trade to take for the week, I am pushing them to be very patient and to remain very disciplined and to only take the best possible setup out there. Any thoughts? Any questions?
Well, I like the positive way of thinking, Jip. And you are our mentor from the beginning, from the start. So really looking forward to show off what we can do.
I'm excited, man. I'm honestly so excited for this. You guys have no idea. If there are no other questions, then there's only one thing that's left for today. And that's for me to give you guys the asset to trade for next week. And the asset that I'm going to give you guys, obviously, it's the king of the jungle. It's Bitcoin.
Good morning. It is Thursday of the first week of the trading challenge. And so far my trading performance is absolutely shit. Let's put it this way. I'm still at starting balance and I'm self-doubting myself all the time to take a trade. And obviously then you're not making a lot of money. But it's not because I'm not motivated, even more so. I'm sitting here in the room of my son. You see behind me scarves of Barcelona, Bayern Munich, Ajax. So the guy is completely crazy of football. So Jip pretty much caught me off guard with this amazing prize that we can achieve. If, of course, we do well in the trading challenge, which so far is quite far, but okay, it's only first week. But yeah, man, the boy is completely crazy with football. As you can see, this is his filing system. He already is a real boy. This is the family cat, probably is a better trader than I am. But yeah, it's a Thursday. We just had this amazing drop-off with the tariffs from Mr. Trump. So let's see how the market recovers. I've still got a couple of days. So of course I'm going for it.
Okay, guys, week 1 has concluded. And how did it go? Bart, I think you are the first one that can introduce how the week has gone so far. I'm super curious to hear the results, super curious to hear the mistakes or the good trades. So let's dive into it, Bart. How did it go?
Oh man, I'm hugely disappointed with myself, I have to admit that. And I gained a lot of respect for you, for all these movies that you make and how easily you make it all look like. My ideal picture I had in mind when we kicked this off is today to come up with obviously a winning trade. And also come up with these smooth explanations on why I took the trade and what happened. But instead I found myself freezing up, looking at the chart far too much, letting trades pass by, taking 2 mediocre trades. Maybe I have to take a beer next time to make it sound more smooth. So yeah, as you can see, the result up here is I lost a whopping 80 cents. I think I can manage that, but it's my pride that got hurt.
There's a few things that make me very happy. The account is still alive and that you haven't blown up the account just yet. So that's definitely a positive note to take. The second thing is that your risk management definitely was in check because you only lost 80 cents. So I'm very curious about the trade that you took and also how it ended up. And I've said this many times over the past few weeks, months. I think we've been doing this now together with the 3 of us for like 1.5, 2 years. And hearing these kind of struggles and hearing these kind of stories about how you're struggling with recording and getting like cold feet and not knowing how to explain your trades and using the terminology and that kind of stuff. I fucking love hearing this, and I've said this so many times to you guys. And I think earlier this morning in the group chat I also told you guys when you were cursing and you were telling us how shit it went last week. And I told you guys, enjoy the process, because this is honestly by far the funnest part of our journey so far together, and I'm enjoying this by far the most. To the people that are watching, like before we started recording, we were struggling with the 3 of us for 25 minutes just to get everything set up so we could start recording. And I can only just imagine the struggle and stress that you went through last week, knowing that you had to enter a trade on only one asset, having the pressure of entering the trade for the content's sake, but also for your own sake because you want to enter that trade, then getting everything set up for the recording, like thinking about what you want to explain and the pressure and this and that. And I can only just imagine the stress that it brings with it.
Yeah, and I think it's good to explain a little bit how it went on our side, because you just mentioned follow your system. And I think that's the first sort of key thing that struck us, is basically what is exactly our system. But finally, I took a trade. So what I did basically is I waited until Friday to take the trade on Friday, and then on Saturday morning, obviously 2 trades which I didn't really feel like the best ones. I marked out Monday open, and as you can see, here is where I was eyeing already a sort of accumulation trade. But instead of taking it, and of course it's easy in hindsight, I let it pass. Because this accountability that obviously I was looking forward to in this series also made me realize very much on, okay, why actually are you taking this trade? So far, Eelco and I have been hiding very much, in our own anonymous situation that no one is judging your trade. So then it's very easy, just, you get a trade, then you get a trade, that kind of feeling that Eelco explained earlier. But this voice was constantly in my head on Sunday. If you have to explain to the guys, why did you take that trade? And then I thought, shit, let's go for it. This is the trade that I took. So it's looking very good now. I have to say I left break even, but when I stepped in, obviously this was the situation. I drew a range, and I don't think it's the most beautiful range because it was very choppy sort of behavior. So you can argue that this was a specific range and this was a specific range and not the entire range in itself. I saw the liquidity that was left here. There's liquidity everywhere, right? There was liquidity here, but also here in this beautiful wick.
Exactly.
Left by Mr. Trump. So then it is obviously trading is calculated guessing, of course. So then it's up to the person, the trader itself, to make up a setup and then come up with an estimation of what's going to happen. And I took the trade after, on a low time frame, it switched to bearish.
How did you see that it switched to bearish, if I may ask?
I think it was on a very low time frame. I marked it out even. It was in our European time Friday afternoon. And guess who just dropped a BTC long idea?
Yeah, myself.
Yeah. Yeah. And I know that you should not get influenced by other traders.
When your mentor starts entering the opposite way, I can imagine that it fucks a little bit with your head, of course. But looking at this setup, I can definitely see why you took it. And I don't think it was a bad setup at all. Which makes me wonder, like, what were the kind of emotions that you were feeling that made you close this, in hindsight, obviously profitable trade?
I had the idea that it still could go for this liquidity higher up, shoot up, and then after that break back to bearish. Because in my system, this here I would put the stop loss, and then obviously if it would shoot up to the top of the range, then obviously what my stop loss would have been hit, and then I would have to enter again if it would have for a break of structure to bearish. So that was one voice in my head. Obviously as well, your long was up there, but also it was Friday afternoon and the markets were going towards close. So you can almost feel like, okay, they're fucking around with retail. They're trying to end the week in green. So probably they will go for all of this liquidity. And there probably is a fear of losing as well after all years of trading and constantly losing. So then I thought, okay, let's get out now while I can.
Yeah, fair enough. And as I said, it makes a lot of sense. Also, the thing you said about Friday, and I think Jerome Powell was speaking, and there were a lot of factors that were definitely influencing your decision making here. I think the core lesson that we can take from this, and the core lesson that I've been trying to teach you guys for a long time already, is that at some point you need to make sure that you have gathered so much data on your system by taking so many trades according to that system, that no matter what is going on in the world, news event related, time related, whether someone on Twitter or myself is taking a trade in the opposite direction, you don't care anymore. You trust your system, you trust your invalidation, and you know that, let's say you have a win rate of 55 or 60%, which can make you a very profitable trader over a longer period of time. You know that in hindsight, you could have indeed hit a stop loss here, right? It's part of the game. Even though the triggers might have been valid, even though the setup might have been valid, even though it might have been an A+ setup according to your system, if your win rate is 50 or 60 or 70%, there's still a very high probability that you're still going to hit stop loss no matter what. And the last thing that you should do if that happens is tell yourself, okay, I should have listened to Yip, who was in a Bitcoin long, or I shouldn't have traded on a Friday afternoon because Jerome Powell was speaking. No, if you hit that stop loss, you should review the trade, technically speaking, and if your conclusion from that review, technical analysis wise, is that you followed your system, you got the right triggers, and you executed your trade based off your system in the correct way, but due to the probabilities you simply hit a stop loss, then it's completely fine. But you first need to take so many trades according to that system for a longer period of time until you get to that point. The core thing that we need to take away from this is that no matter what is going on, try to block out all the noise as far as that's possible, of course, and just do your own thing, even if that means screwing up 1,000 times in a row. The only thing that can make you trust your own system is if you have executed for such a long period of time and gathered so much data and so many results on that specific system that you know you're going to be profitable over a longer period of time. But you also know you're going to hit a bunch of stops. You also know you're going to hit a bunch of winners. You know that you're going to hit winning streaks. You know that you're going to hit losing streaks, because I have so much data that is backing up my system, that I know that it's all a game of probabilities, and that I know that I'm going to be wrong a lot of the times. But I'm trying to get through to you guys that fucking up, especially in your part of the journey, is a must if you ever want to become that consistently profitable trader. If you don't fuck up, and if you don't execute, and if you keep on copying signals or whatever, just fuck up as many times as possible, now with small margins, and slowly gather so much data that maybe in 9 months, the data from your BitGet account is going to show to you that over the course of 9 months, you're break even, or maybe you're a little profitable, or maybe you're not profitable yet. Then we start a season 2, and during that season 2, as long as during season 1 you only took your own trades without letting other people influence your bias and your decision making, I can promise you that during season 2, your results are going to be so much better than during season 1.
Yeah, and it's an important one because you mentioned the trust issue, and like Bart mentioned, we had a lot of calls last week because it was the first week of our challenge. So we gave each other some feedback, and the trust issue is a real thing for myself because it also had some time issues related to it, and also Trump news that affected the market, but also the fuzz on X, like you mentioned, Yip, just now, because you see all the charts and you try to figure out your own system or your own setup, but you always doubt yourself once you see others take another step than yourself.
Yeah, and you know the beautiful thing is, I doubt myself every now and then as well. Probably like last week or the week before, I could see that Kane on X was taking major shorts on NQ. And I called him and he was like, bro, this shit is gonna dump. And I was like, oh my days, crypto is correlated to NQ. My higher time frame bias on Bitcoin is that the bottom is in. But if this guy is saying that NQ is gonna dump, NQ is gonna dump. If he has this kind of conviction, it's gonna happen. At the end of the day, NQ took a major tumble, like the biggest dump we've seen in years. You know what crypto did? It held like a fucking gangster against NQ. And I stuck to my bias. I was like, okay, if I'm gonna be wrong, I'm gonna be wrong. And I was expecting crypto to move very correlated with NQ. And for some reason, it decoupled. Just to show to you guys that I'm also still doubting myself every now and then. Maybe actually every single trade, you're doubting yourself a little bit. Am I gonna be right this time? I don't know. I'm just playing the odds. Trust me guys, I really get where it's coming from. You're gaining my respect by doing this because there's not a lot of people out there who take on this journey and share all the struggles and share all the hurdles. People always like to show the good stuff. And I believe that the raw authenticity of trading is also that this week, Eelco didn't take a trade. And there were so many factors that were influencing your decision making, right? Family, time, pressure, charts, doubts, emotions. At the end of the day, I already told you guys, emotions are 80% of the game, and it's completely fine that Bart only took 2 trades and both decided to close and break even due to emotions getting the better of him. This is exactly, in my opinion, what the people want to see. The raw reality of the struggle to become a profitable trader. Try to enjoy this part of the process, because once you are consistently profitable, it's gonna be boring as fuck. Which is one of the reasons why I'm sitting here on my Sunday night, hanging out with you guys, because otherwise I would have a fucking boring life. Just executing my system every week and every day and every month. Honestly, it would be pretty boring. Even though
I look forward to a boring life.
Yeah. I hope one day it's gonna be just as boring for you as well, Bart. Because I think, Bart, when I look at your trade to get into the technicals, I think the setup looks great. And I had a slightly different bias, but if my bias was bearish as well, I think this was a beautiful execution. Yet a lot of things that were confirming a good setup here. So next week, just trust your setup, trust your instinct, trust your judgment. And if that's gonna be wrong, just blame it on the probabilities, but try not to blame it on the setup.
Another thing that I developed or started thinking of this week is that I really did not have a routine. So I thought being in a swamp without it. So what I developed is very basic, kids to school and whenever I had the time. It was easy that we just only had to follow Bitcoin. So you hear all these things, start on a higher time frame, zoom into a lower time frame. That's what I did. So basically I opened up a Google Docs document every day, sort of like a trading journal. And I used a voice dictation and basically said out loud what I saw on a chart. I tried to explain and talk out loud here in my room. And through voice dictation, obviously, it entered in the Google Docs, explaining what did I see. But at least when your alerts get triggered or you have some time to check into the charts, you know what is sort of could happen today on that day, and then go recall what you discussed with yourself. Based on that, see how it developed on a lower time frame to either take a trade or not. But at least that sort of helped me to come up with a sort of routine. So I'm definitely going to continue that this week.
And I think this is also the perfect way to end off episode 1 of the trading challenge between my 2 favorite boomers, Bart and Eelco, who are competing for 2 tickets to a game of FC Barcelona with their kid. I do still have a lot of confidence that we are going to end this challenge both in profit, and I'm still thinking about a price when you both also end up in profit, a different price as well for the both of you, but I will come up with that very, very soon.